Immortals.
Yeah, and even though there are the things that Cyrene mentioned change from patch 7.1 to 7.2, the things that are noticeably unchanged is LeBlanc, Camille, and Rengar. We're going to have to wait at least another patch for those guys to get taken down a peg. So don't expect too much crazy variation, and we're going to see those three banned by the red side fairly often.
And I like this from Immortals, just taking strong champions away. This is one of the advantages of banning on the blue side in Phase 1. So Kha'Zix is the final ban, starting to pinch the jungle pool early, and Phoenix1 know that they're kind of forced to ban Rengar, but with the jungler taken out, that actually hurts quite a lot.
Yeah, and it'll just kind of open up what do they prioritize as the first pick. We have seen the Maokai thing being thrown around, but that doesn't get played against people who have top laners who can play Fiora. So now a fairly rare first pick Jace, but that just looks like the game Flame wants to play.
Exactly. I mean, Flame always been a big carry player. Jace is also a champion that benefited a lot from the lethality changes. So is Varus, which is the first pick there from Phoenix1.
Yeah, speaking of the lethality, Varus was the most picked AD last week before the lethality got better in the early game. So I expect him to kind of be king of the AD carry trinity that was Varus, Ashe, and Jhin. So no surprises there with the early pick. The Nami is a little surprising.
It is a little different. Certainly a champion Adrian is known for. Strong laner will be perfectly fine. I think it accentuates a lot of what Varus wants to do in his lane.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a little strange with Malzahar still being up. You would have expected that to be a higher priority pick, unless they feel like Ole's Morg has been good enough into Malzahar because he can break the shield with the W and then still be able to land bindings. Maybe they just think he's going to pick it anyway. A little confused by the Nami pick, but as you say, there are reasons to do it.
Yeah, and there's Dardoch on the Lee Sin, which is very straightforward as far as Immortals' early drafting is concerned. Best jungler left open, a champion that Dardoch does want to be on. He's a big playmaker. Had a stumble last week on the Lee Sin, but I'm sure he's cleaned a lot of that up.
Yeah, that's the hope, is that he's able to play a little bit more relaxed and calculated, because he has been a little bit tunnel visioned and frantic in some of their losses, trying to do too much. And now that we see top lane jungle AD locked in for Immortals, we're guaranteed to have some type of mismatch in the roles that are selected in the top half of the draft. So we're going to see some target bans, and I'm curious to see if Phoenix1 wants to keep it completely mismatched or if they just match with a jungler here.
I actually kind of like this pick for a bunch of different reasons. They'll lock in the Rek'Sai here. They probably want a jungler with 3 already banned or picked away.
Yep.
And it's very likely Flame wants Rek'Sai to support the carry top laner with the tanky jungler, so they're going to block that pick as well.
Yeah, I think the Rek'Sai is a good thing to pick in here. Otherwise, it would be very banned by Immortals. There's a few other junglers that I think we're going to see a little bit more play on patch 7.2. Graves, because of the lethality changes, and also Ivern, because A, we're seeing him in other regions, but also because he was a product of... He got buffed because the jungle got nerfed for other junglers, but Ivern's jungle mechanics didn't change whatsoever, and I think he's really strong on this patch. Don't know why I'm talking about Ivern, though, because there's no way he's in the draft.
I know you love Ivern, Jad. It's okay. Syndra banned from Phoenix1. There's Poppy for Immortals, so looks like mid lane versus top lane will be that phase 2 ban mismatch that you alluded to.
Yeah, and the Poppy has been kind of the go-to pick against Jace, because all you had to do was survive laning phase, and then you outscale tremendously. So curious to see what Zig will end up going with, especially because of those Courage of the Colossus nerfs. The Nautilus and the Maokai aren't quite as strong, especially in laning phase. If they want to go Courage, they kind of have to go with something like Grasp, which immediately makes them a little bit less effective in team fights. So we'll see.
That's interesting, though, from Immortals. Last ban Corki, which has been a popular mid laner, but there's like 5 or 6 different mid laners that's been taken away between these two ban phases. And now Phoenix1, you think we're going to pick one, might want to have to defer the pick later, wanting to hide it for a potential counter pick, but both Ryu and Pobelta's pools are heavily narrowed.
Exactly, and I think the reason we ended up seeing the Corki ban is we hear a lot of teams in the draft phase kind of creating an OP matchup, especially when you're red side. So with double mid lane bans by Phoenix1, Immortals was thinking that they wanted to first pick the Corki, so they just got rid of that, push him to the Cassiopeia, which a lot of people will have a priority pick for anyway. So I understand what they were going for with the Corki ban. The effectiveness, though, is yet to be seen.
They've set themselves up well as well. Both Syndra and Orianna are a good matchup, so Ryu's going to get a lot done here. We'll see what happens for Pobelta. Might have to fall all the way back to a 7th pick, and it will be Victor.
Yeah, a much older pick there. We saw so much Victor last year, but a lot of the mid laners that get played against him have already been banned, so it's definitely not the same level of power that it was last year, due to a series of nerfs and also other champions coming into the fold, but not a bad pick by any means.
No, it's fine. Both mid laners pretty safe. There's last pick Thresh for Ole, so going to complete a little bit more of an aggressive lane. And we'll see what Phoenix1 have as their last pick here. It is going to be the top lane. Suspected Flame was going Jace. It's now confirmed given the picks that they've seen. So kind of what safe pick does Zig want here?
Exactly. Nautilus is one guy that's picked a lot into Jace because he's able to set up very simple ganks. Zig has been a player that has had a strong Shen game in the past, so I think either one of those choices would make sense.
Don't mind the Shen. We'll see if that's what they lock in, because that's the current Hobbit. There's the pick for Phoenix1. So, I mean, like you said, you're almost never going to win a lane versus Jace 1v1, but if you can absorb that kind of like the Poppy could and just get through it safely, that's all you want from your tank top laner here.
Yeah, you either need to have some kill threat on him if Inori is able to beat Dardoch up there, but most importantly, you need to be able to not lose terribly in the mid game, because once you get past that, you stack up some armor, usually okay.
And that's a lot of what I think that top half, jungle top matchup will look like here. Dardoch on an aggressive champion, Flame on an aggressive champion. We know Flame pulls a ton of resources from any team he plays on. He's a very capable carry if he can get a good head start, so Dardoch's going to try and help him out here.
Exactly, and if we look at the overall team composition here, Immortals, with a fairly difficult to execute team composition. They don't have true tanks. Thresh doesn't get insanely tanky, neither does Lee Sin because Dardoch is most likely going Warrior. You contrast that with Phoenix1, who fairly simply can get 2 tanks in the Shen and the Rek'Sai, and then also have an enabler support like Nami. So if this gets to the teamfight phase, in the late game, it's kind of advantage Phoenix1, which means the pressure is on Immortals, and that's been tricky for them so far this year.
It has. You don't want to hear the words difficult to execute team comp. When we've seen Immortals' recent play, our biggest sticking point has been drafting a little bit, but mostly just team synergy, because it does take time to build that up. So they're testing themselves here, which I kind of like, but if they're looking to pick up wins, this is a very difficult way to do so.
Absolutely. We're going to have to see that bottom lane be the majority of the picks, and those haven't been the guys that have necessarily excelled for them. So Immortals trying to build on the things that they haven't succeeded with thus far. See if it works.
Still early in the season, so Immortals do have some wiggle room to kind of build that team cohesion. P1, though, seem pretty consistent out of the gate. Likely only getting stronger here, sitting in second, currently tied. Let's see if they can break away here. We'll start here with game number 1 as we'll move it out onto the Rift for the first time in week 3 here.
Absolutely, and we do have to keep going back, Pastry, and remind people that we are still so early in the split, and teams haven't even gone through the first round robin yet. Early signs obviously point to Phoenix1 looking a lot cleaner than Immortals, but at the end of the day, if Immortals wins this series, they're both 3-2. So Immortals really needs to be able to keep that confidence up.
And I think given the early standings, this is a relatively pivotal game early in the season for these two teams, because like you said, they're pretty close together as far as records go. Looks like Cody's going to get himself poked down. Ole thinking about a bit of harass, but P1 just moving here as now a 4-stack. Cassiopeia going to rotate down as well. Looks like just some early vision here from P1. We have seen them sticking together, getting vision, and possibly even looking to invade and take away some of Immortals' jungle.
Yeah, and a lot of guesswork is going to go in right here. They were able to place the board, but then Immortals has to guess about whether or not they vacated and went to a normal jungle start. Sticking around this long is actually fairly rare in jungle invades. You usually see them just going for the deep ward, but yeah, we might see a double early steal. The interesting thing about this is Immortals is going to know where Dardoch is, or sorry, Phoenix1 is going to know where Dardoch is, but the same is not going to be true on the other side.
Yeah, Immortals could not get the ward down here. Although
there it is, now they know.
Stamped him out. Oh, they actually take it. I mean, they've got the information, they'll infer it, but they won't get exact info, which isn't too bad for P1. Looks like just 2 red invades here, and we'll start trading jungles vertically.
Yeah, I think that completely equalizes the information game, because even if they're able to kill the ward, this is a little dangerous.
Very dangerous. In fact, Cody-san and Ole are going to try and get some harass down. Arrow does take a decent amount of damage, but Inori's going to book it. Oh, blocked in. Arrow actually taking damage. Ignite is down. That's aggressive, and Cody-san's been exhausted. Ole still trying to chase it down. The heel's been burnt, and that's going to be enough to keep him alive.
But still, really good play by Ole right there, because he knew they had gotten the most chunk early when compared to Phoenix1, and they're definitely going to hit level 2, and Arrow's really trying his best to get back into this lane. It's going to be tight, though, because they have to worry about Inori coming for a super early gank on Rek'Sai.
Yeah, P1 are actually just getting zoned off their own waves here, so they're going to have to walk back around. Inori is in the area, will take down the Scuttle Crab, but didn't get any additional jungle.
Exactly, and he can't gank until he's level 3. That's one of the things about Rek'Sai is until you have your tunnel, which you do not skill up in the first 2 levels, your ganks are useless.
Well, shows there as P1 burn a decent amount of health, some consumables, and some summoners. Ole does burn both for a potential all-in, but they've got the experience lead, so bottom lane looking good early. Dardoch, in the meantime, does manage to take a full extra camp away.
So he's full cleared that side of Inori's jungle. And now Inori, while he is level 3 and can continue to clear, is going to have to wait a really long time for that side of his jungle to come up. So depending on if Dardoch goes for a hard farm route or a ganking route, there's a chance he gets a pretty substantial lead and experience early on.
Looking good so far. Dardoch going to start his blue buff after taking all of P1's left side and the Scuttle Crab on the top half of the river, keeping Flame nice and safe there, who is actually pushing up aggressively into Z because he knows pretty much where Inori is. That's one of the advantages of how the starts worked out. I mean, all the lanes are pushing for Immortals right now with the exception of mid lane, and Pobelter probably pretty happy with that right now. Happy to sit back, not take too much harass, and just play safe on the Victor.
Yeah, I mean, Cassiopeia has much more repeatable damage, especially early in the lane, so Victor wants to be able to farm up until the first Hex Core item or so, and then when he can really threaten with Burst is when he tries to get aggressive, so really just trying to split this lane early, Pastry.
I like what Ryu kind of doing there, hiding in a brush, waiting for the wave, and Nori was there joining him, but we'll actually go back down to Dardoch's side of the jungle now and see if he can't take away maybe a few more camps. Has a blast cone, might look for a sneaky gank as well, but look at a little lost actually pathing back through Immortals jungle. Doesn't know exactly where Dardoch is, so was afraid to start a camp. Will do so now, but Dardoch's already down on this side.
Yeah, I do have to point out though that Inori did counter jungle these Raptors,
okay.
So he's just left the 10 gold there. So it has reset on the minimap, and depending on whether or not Dardoch can deny these Krugs takes, we could end up seeing a battle. He's going to think they're gone now, but he doesn't know that for sure yet.
And now Inori knows where he is because of the Tremor Sense. Dardoch's just going to force down bottom lane instead. Adrian flayed back, forced to flash. Great bubble. Might save him, but Dardoch wants it. He flashes in, gets a slow, and then first blood for Dardoch. Now Arrow getting chased down. Cody's son flash autos for a slow, and that forces Arrow's flash.
Yeah, and gonna analyze that in a bit, but Pobelter's in trouble.
Yeah, Pobelter flash on Burrow. There's some Miasma on top of him. Damage is in. Good flash up, but Ryu straight in there. Wants to go for the dive and does take it down. Ryu with the counter kill.
Yeah, so both junglers very determined with where they're going in those instances. And even though Phoenix1 saw Dardoch through the Tremor Sense, the communication wouldn't have been clear enough, and they definitely didn't respect the ability for the Lee Sin Thresh to kind of just close the entire gap. Dardoch now trying to move into that mid lane wave to catch the XP.
Just playing some games there with Inori, gets a little bit of damage down. Might fancy a 1v2 as we'll watch this one again. Ole just sets this up so nicely.
Yeah, mainly because the hook missed, Adrian felt confident, and he even landed the double bubble to just kind of go and show you how much trouble he was ultimately in. Flashed away, easily able to flash follow by Dardoch, and just a little level 3 Nami. Dardoch's laughing about that. Land a bubble, miss your Thresh hook, still get an easy kill, because Inori was not there to match, and it was just a straight-up 3v2 that they could close on.
Such a smart flash E there, and that bottom lane advantage that happened very early on will help Immortals down. And in particular, Dardoch already finished that hammer there. Does have his boots and some early consumables, including 2 control words. Dardoch at level 5, quickly getting an experience edge here and getting himself the first blood. We know he's a player that likes to take over games. He's well positioned to do so here in this game, and we maybe thought he was going top lane for Flame, but Flame's fine in 1v1, so Dardoch's back in bottom lane.
Yeah, this is a nice game plan from Dardoch, and he had to be very dynamic with it as well because of what happened at level 1. Inori with the red buff steal, and then Dardoch having to respond to that, but looks like he's going to be trying to focus this bottom lane, knowing the flashes are out. And interesting here, Ole's Thresh does have flash, so if they want to try a Lantern into a Thresh flash play, that's an incredibly difficult to avoid gank, and it's going to push Arrow and Adrian even further back in the lane. They're already losing.
Well, Dardoch backed off for now, so doesn't stick around too much longer. Gives Inori kind of a chance to catch up in farm. Tiamat early for Inori as well. Remember, he did get an assist on the kill in mid lane, so he's also got a nice early injection of gold, and we might see the junglers get to a bit more farming, at least for Dardoch. He wants to get to level 6, but already we've seen great pathing out of these 2 junglers, which is what we expected. It should continue here as the game moves on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously if you want to get a super focused look at the junglers, you can just go over to any LCS 2.
Hey,
a little plug. Kobe, Dominate, and Meteos are talking about that, but we're going to talk about it too, Pastry, because that's the focus of the game right now. And with Dardoch being level 6, with flashes being burned bottom side, if Arrow and Adrian go past the halfway point in that lane, they're essentially dead. So we really have to just track to see if Cody's son and Ole can build on that advantage, because at this point, the threat of Dardoch coming there could be enough to give a big CS difference. So I wonder if Dardoch is going to look to help out Pobelter.
We've had early backs actually from the bottom lane. Cody's son with that BF sword ready to go. Ole's got his sight stone, and they're going to approach 6 relatively quickly, so maybe he'll come back down for that. Arrow and Adrian trying to push this in, maybe looking to get it back in for themselves. And Flame, who we did talk about earlier, does have a decent CS lead building against Zig. It's about 10 to 15 right now. Shen is expected to fall behind this matchup, and the Cinder is going to help. But if Flame's isolated, he's probably pretty happy. He was always known for his strong 1v1 ability, and Zig's just going to take it here. Inori going to try and do something in return, but 1v2.
Junglers collapse.
Going to be 2v2. Dardoch does find Zig there. Now they're going to kick him. Gets him away. Looks to chase him down. Slow's going to land through his Flame's taking a bit of damage, but Dardoch does take down Zig. No, Inori 1v2 trying to challenge him. Does take down Flame, but Dardoch claims another.
Yeah, and this is going to be a snowball Lee Sin right here. With the Caulfield's Warhammer, he is a stronger duelist than just the Tiamat, and also the Jace is stronger early than the Shen, especially before Ninja Tabi are completed, because he's going for that Door and Shield Ninja Tabi build. So the fact that Dardoch was just there for that, really beneficial. And both junglers start at essentially the same place. Phoenix1 was hoping to bait something out, but they have to respect the Lee Sin coming over the corner. Bad break that Dardoch is able to land the Q, get the kick, and then he ward jumps on one of those 2 control wards he bought to just finish him off with a red buff. And here, I'm very surprised Inori actually got this kill. I think it was greedy of Flame to give one back, because that could have easily been a 2-for-0 for Dardoch.
I mean, it's kind of the story of Flame. He does like to snowball ahead. Probably wanted the kill for himself, but instead it's Dardoch that reaps the rewards. 3-0. Warrior already done at less than 10 minutes in. Dardoch also has a red buff just to kind of complete the package for you, and I feel like he's going to revisit top lane.
Yeah, his ultimate's going to be back up in a few seconds. It's a matter of being able to walk through these wards. They have, was that 2 control wards? They do have the 2 control wards, so he's not spotted by anything on that roam, but he still pulls back because the wave's not quite in the right place yet.
Yeah, Flame is going to keep, again, staying in this 1v1. He's more than happy on his own. Inori, though, as we can see, is on that right-hand side of the map. But Pobelta also going to get blue donated over. Has been falling a bit behind in CS versus Ryu, but I think the matchup probably favors Ryu there. And Pobelta, as we said, has had some early struggles, but so far so good. Playing safe. He's on a very comfortable control mage. Look for Pobelta to be a little more relevant as the minutes tick on, because it's been all action from the jungle. And now the bottom lane, apparently. Yeah,
this is a very aggressive move by Inori and Ryu, but they're mainly just going for that first turret. It's a late roam down. They're able to take the advantage that Ryu had in the mid lane and just kind of pressure off this turret. If they can get the first turret, it will be a good injection.
Oh, he wants to get the flash box there. The wave is in, and Ole could get dove. Chain of Corruption snares up to a Zig, dives in to finish it off. Ryu takes down the first. Flame is down here as well. Zig going to get himself caught on the other side. Is Pobelta and Inori going to start dueling. Inori taking damage. Pobelta almost snipes him, and now Dardoch looking to make the play. Arrow snipes Pobelta there to complete it all, and Arrow is going to live through Dardoch's assault.
Phoenix1 ends up winning this one, as Immortals wasn't necessarily expecting the full 5-man collapse down by Phoenix1, and then some nice snipes by Arrow coming through the backside. Phoenix1 goes for a very aggressive play. Immortals tries a little bit, honestly, too aggressively to counter, because Ole went in before the rest of his team could arrive, and Phoenix1 stays in it, may even still prep that first turret down since they got so much damage to it.
Nice response there. Now only about 500 gold behind as Dardoch, hoping somebody overstays their welcome in bottom lane, but we'll back up from the players. We'll watch this one again. It's quite a complex tower dive, as it turned out.
Exactly. So Cody lands the Asher onto Ryu, and they go in pretty much immediately, but the Shen ult saves him enough, and he just goes straight down. Zig honestly didn't even need to taunt in, and they probably still could have secured the kill. And when Pobelta comes in, he's there ahead of his team, and watch this snipe right there by Arrow. Finishes off the kill, and at that point, there's no one to follow up Dardoch's kick.
Yep, flash kick was nice, but
here we go.
Disengage. Arrow in trouble again. There's a hook after the play, and Dardoch make that 4 kills.
Yeah, so the Thresh and Lee Sin is a classic combo for a reason. We talked about it being difficult to execute, but they have been coordinating very well, specifically with that bottom lane. Arrow doesn't even bother flashing there because he knew he was dead to rights, and that sets up a nice Drake take for Immortals. They're going for it.
Ole starting to get active as well. Going to take the honey fruit as Dardoch pretty comfortably taking this on his own. Ole will assist, but not really needed as he smites down the Drake, and that's the first for Immortals. 12 minutes in. Dardoch been nice and active this game. As you can see, Ryu still kind of zoning Pobelta off the wave. But Pobelta is going to hold on for as long as possible, and making it down to the early roam is a good sign for the team there as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have talked a lot about Dardoch early in the split, pressing too hard and not finding success, and hoping we'd see the Dardoch we saw last year with Team Liquid. This does feel more like that style of game, where his aggressive plays just feel more natural because he goes right in when the opportunity is right and there's no hesitation. The question now will be, can he transition that with the rest of his team? Because if you're Immortals right now, you're worried about Ryu's Cassiopeia and the strong front line that Phoenix1 is going to be able to put in late into the game. So Dardoch has to go all over and really snowball this advantage before it gets to the team fight phase.
Yeah, nice rotation top lane for Immortals, though. Arrow going to look to trade this bottom outer turret, but Immortals already took that first turret goal for themselves and continue to press on as well. Arrow is going to get that solo, so the rest of P1 likely making their way to that top side, but Dardoch steals away the red again, and now they're going to look for a pick behind the turret. Arrow going to miss, but Zig's still in trouble. Ole going to get haunted. Dardoch is here. Going to try and kick him back, but Zig flashes out of it.
Yeah, and they really want to be able to take down this turret, but the collapse is coming, and they're running out of minions. So nice job by Zig to completely avoid that gank, and it gives Arrow a little bit of free time. What's he going to do with it, though?
Push the lane by the looks of things. Just take what extra CS he can, but you can see what Flame was setting up there. He's got actually a very significant CS lead now up against Zig. Pobelta under fire. Inori going to knock him up, and there's actually the ulti down from Pobelta defensively. Ryu going to chase in. Miasma attacks him on the other end! That's a wonderful play from Ryu.
Yeah, and things are going from bad to worse for Pobelter. He had the one death early, still isn't really scaling up, and there you could tell he really didn't want to burn his summoner spells just because the Rek'Sai was there, but he ends up burning both and still dying, and that's really what makes it go from bad to worse.
Oh, Dardoch!
Oh, he's so good at that.
Playing with his food. Ole under fire, going to play Arrow back. There's the box to defend, but it's 1v4 right now. Ryu takes the shock blast as Ole. He's going to get knocked up by the bubble. There's a kill for Arrow as Dardoch does not dare go back in this time.
Yeah, bad position right there. And Phoenix1 is able to collapse on it pretty easily. Ryu and Arrow are getting scary. Yes, they're behind in the jungle because Dardoch has 4 kills, and in the top lane because Zig is up against a Jace and has fallen twice, but the people who do damage are definitely doing work for Phoenix1.
Well, is Flame going to nab a potential solo kill here? He's going to try and start it. Zig taunts himself away. He's going to recall safely in the brush. Flame starting to really take full control of a very long and scary top lane. And the wave's pushing, this time in favor of P1.
Yeah, Flame is actually...
Although not anymore.
Really just trying to freeze Zig out as much as possible. He's not willing to push to the second tier of turrets yet, and it's pretty rare you actually see someone freeze nowadays, as the Ash Arrow goes really wide. So, yeah, Flame just trying to get a huge advantage on Zig like in the old days.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I've seen this one before. Flame certainly feels like his old self there in the Jace versus Shin matchup. Kind of makes sense why Immortals prioritize it so highly in the draft. Zig, though, still be relevant as long as he gets that farm, and now that's pushing towards him. Flame going to go back, see if he can't get any stronger. Black Cleaver already done, and that last Whisper, plus 2 extra longswords that he's just picked up, is a pretty good look for him. But the rest of his team kind of still building up towards those first few items, and Ryu, as we've mentioned, is nice and strong. Lost Chapter, Tier, and the Abyssal Scepter all finished. Cassiopeia is looking real scary right now.
Ryu is massive, and I'm a little surprised they've actually moved him down into that bottom lane where he's had to kind of dodge dash arrows because he had quite a big lead on the mid lane, and I was expecting them to continue to pressure that, but he is down there to just super wave clear and try and defend that damaged outer turret. It's very rare that you see a Cassiopeia side laner. You've seen LeBlancs or Zeds, but not the control mages as much as this, so they're trying to make it work, but it's definitely not a normal strategy.
No, it looks like Arrow just kind of wants the safest farm possible, so he's in the mid lane now, clearing that all out for himself. Pobelta going to dip back and pick himself up the blue buff, so things looking good as far as the buff donation schedule is concerned. And Dardoch has been a little quieter in the last few minutes, but again, farming up, kind of waiting for that next Drake. We will have a mountain up in 1:30, and the map is kind of open on 2 opposite sides here. So teams are treading a little more carefully as we move into this mid game and trying to collapse in on these mid turrets, perhaps.
Exactly, and Phoenix1 has withstood the Dardoch barrage early on in this game quite well by getting picks on other players, being able to focus Pobelter while Flame was doing well in the top lane, and then also getting that crucial pick onto Ole has just kept them with map pressure on the other sides of the map, and it's really kind of just swung this map into Immortals only having an advantage on the top side. And Phoenix1 has advantage in 2 out of the 3 lanes, so the lead that Dardoch had grown in the early game is essentially gone unless they're able to create picks.
That was a juicy hook onto Inori. Dardoch kind of follow, looks to kick him back, but knock-up is there. Dardoch still chasing. Jace with a poke there as well, but Ole going to get out of that one. Sorry, Inori going to get out of that one. Ole looking for the pick, does not grab it.
Yeah, and with the Victor and Cassio in the mid lane, it is a little bit of a wave clear fest, but I do feel like that is, for now, advantage Phoenix1. If you're thinking of how Immortals wins the game, they either have to get a bunch of non-teamfight picks, because I think they lose in the teamfight, or Flame needs to get a great split push going against the Shen Rek'Sai, which is hard due to the global pressure.
Long-range sniper on Ole with the bubble plus tidal wave, but Adrian burns his ulti and not too much comes of it. P1 looks to be collapsing on this Drake, which is up in 5 seconds, and Pobelta with the blue buff is still busy clearing out the waves. Does so pretty swiftly, but Arrow's going to poke him down. And despite a 2-level difference, Arrow with the early Ghost Blade, we heard about lethality at the top of the show. I mean, this is exactly where Varus wants to be.
He's most likely going Edge of Night after that, and then probably a Dust Blade, because the only armor user in this game is really going to be Dardoch, so he's want as much lethality as possible. Those piercing arrows are going to be doing half of Ole's health for a lot of it, but another hook onto Inori.
Nori caught again, Bubble not going to save him.
That's the pick.
That's exactly what Immortals want. Where are they going to go with it after? It looks like mid lane is the answer here. Going to save the Drake for a little while.
Yeah, and they're going to pressure mid lane while Flame is pressuring the top lane, forcing Phoenix1 into a bit of a play. Ryu ghosts.
Yeah, looking for a play. Does have ulti and flash, and he's very scary. Even got a QSS, so additional outplay potential is kind of there. Dardoch gonna tag him, he wants in! Just trying to bait out the ulti again, but Ryu doesn't fall for it.
Yeah,
oh, Dardoch, though, still in trouble, takes the lantern out to safety, but Pobelta now under assault from Ryu. This Cassiopeia burning through everyone. In fact, Ryu might just go in for it. Oh. Adrian gets a kill with the bounce.
Oh, the kill secure heal by the Nami actually is super clutch. The whole time Immortals was fighting that, Flame was getting work done on the top side, but they've essentially lost this Mountain Drake now.
And that's bad news for Immortals, who really needed to snowball this mid-game. Mountain Drake would have helped siege down those turrets. But instead, P1 are going to get it and start to keep that scaling up for themselves. Yes, Immortals are still strong right now, and they'll have some elements on their comp that will be favorable for them, but P1 taking the Drake and doing significant damage to that mid-outer turret is starting to spell a turnaround here in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And just watch this play. Dardoch was hoping to get the Cassie Walt out of it, but watch Arrow right here. Well, it's actually the bubble that makes the skill shots super easy to land, pushes them out, and Dardoch can't quite assassinate Arrow.
Yeah, Arrow's okay.
Now he's in trouble.
Certainly looks to be so. Dardoch flashes out from under Inori, and Zig's like, yep, I'm leaving. They know he's getting away. Lee Sin pretty slippery. And Zig only has to commit the ultimate here. Immortals, I like this rotation. Pressuring in the mid, they've got plenty of damage here with 2 marksmen. And that's going to go down nice and quickly.
And that was all started with Dardoch's attempted kill onto Arrow in the bottom lane. That burned the flash as well as the Shen ultimate. And then even took Inori's attention. So credit to Dardoch for setting that play up, and it's really going to start a substantial wave of turret kills by the Immortals team.
Yeah, it seems like they'd weakened quite a few turrets in these lanes, so all of a sudden 2 outer turrets go down nice and quickly. And Flame has gotten work done with the top tier 2 that they initially assaulted. Cody's son, though, that's a big chunk from Arrow. Is he going to try and get a taunt, but does not land it. Now Ole getting chased down, but Arrow defensively will keep Zig away. They've got Flame on the flank looking for that poke. P1 know they just can't keep getting kited.
Oh man, this game is in such an interesting spot right now, Pastry Time, because not only do you have different gold distributions as far as who has the kills with the 7,700 gold on Dardoch, but 8,500 on Ryu. It's that push and pull through. If you're in a standard 5v5 team fight, Phoenix1 is going to win. But Phoenix1 also doesn't have the greatest tools for starting team fights. It's like an Inori has to flank around the side with Zig teleporting in on the Shen. So Immortals is going to be doing a lot of disengaging with the Thresh and the Ash Arrow. Meanwhile, they have a really fed top laner in Flame, who is known to be able to split push against a team who has globals, which just sets up a lot of tension of whether or not Flame can continue to execute these outer turrets before Phoenix1 can kind of trap Immortals in a team fight. And whoever plays more cleanly can really be the victor here, because if Phoenix1 avoids the picks by Immortals and brute forces the objectives later in the game, they win. But if Immortals can keep kind of playing this guerrilla warfare game throughout the map and getting picks, then they'll be the ones who win this match.
Yeah, you can see Ryu kind of knows he's a big deal for his team right now. Still inside lanes, happy to just 1v1 versus Cody's son. Flame, of course, is still up to his old tricks in the bottom lane now, matching Zig as far as that push goes. And Immortals know Flame is going to continue to build a 1v1 lead pretty much wherever he is in a side lane. Zig is just going to have to kind of grit his teeth for a little while longer, and Immortals are setting up for yet another pick.
Yeah, and the Cloud Drake will only help him with this one.
Oh, Ryu dodges another arrow. Dardoch dodges another Casio ulti. And now they're looking for the play. Cody's son, he's dead. Ryu takes him out. Kick from Dardoch a little late, and now Adrian getting assaulted by Pobelta. Ultimate committed by Victor, but doesn't kill the Nami. And Immortals really needed that pick.
Yeah, Cody needs to land that Ash Arrow. When it missed, it just opened up Phoenix1 for the straight counter. Now with the Mountain Drake, they're going for it. Pobelta burned his ultimate in that fight as well.
Flame's late. He doesn't have teleport either, so this is 3v5 basically here for Immortals. They're looking for Zig. Dardoch actually gets in. The Baron goes over to the team. And now Dardoch might be caught out. Ward hops away. P1 don't chase. They just take the free objective.
That might be the inflection point that moves Phoenix1 ahead in this game, even though the gold hasn't quite caught up with them yet. Even the Drakes these teams had taken enhanced the styles they want to have with Phoenix1 brute forcing. But watch this. Dardoch roams through. With the Ghost, it's much harder to hit skill shots. Ryu dodges out of them just right. Honori knows he has Zig coming in behind him, so he can flash for that knock-up onto Cody. And then Pobelter tried for the execute on Adrian, misses it, and that only diminishes their ability to interrupt Baron, because that's one great thing about Victor. If he can just Chaos Storm and move it into the Baron pit, oftentimes that's enough to stop the Baron entirely. But the bad game just kind of continues for Pobelter there, not getting the execute, and then having Phoenix1 take the Baron in their face.
Just no relevant cooldown for Immortals after the exchange in top lane, and it is Phoenix1 that picks themselves up the Baron. Still behind in gold by not quite 2,000, but you expect them to get really good damage done with the Baron buff, even though it's quite early. And the gold they should get by knocking down at least a couple turrets is going to either even up the game or put P1 in a very firm lead.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that one. Zig just trying to hold on as much as possible. But
doing his job.
That's the thing, right? Like, when you have Ninja Tabi plus an armor item plus a Doran shield, it's really hard to 1v1 him as a Jace who's just stacking pen but not getting any attack speed or crit multipliers. It's not like your traditional scaling marksman. It's more of a mid-game power spike. So Zig able to neutralize, and then look at the rest of the Baron buff minions just taking down a bunch of turrets on Phoenix1 side. This mid lane turret goes down. They got the goal.
And these are the simple turrets for P1, so they're kind of expected to get these even without the Baron buff, but they can take a couple of tier 2s and maybe even break further than that. They'll open up the map very favorably for themselves. And Nori and Arrow continuing to push will take down this middle outer. Top outer went down to Ryu, who's still playing sideline Cassio for a little while longer.
Yeah.
And you can see all of a sudden that even Zig starting to get traction in his 1v1 with the help of the Baron buff. So all lanes should start to push for Phoenix1. Map's nice and open with the Drake up in 30 seconds. Big tipping point now that P1 have evened the gold back up.
Yeah, and this is the point where you'd want Cody's son to be able to land the Ash arrows, but then you also have to think, who's he going to hit? Edge of Night is up 10 of every 30 seconds for Arrow if he wants it to be. QSS is on Ryu. Getting the arrow on Shen or Rek'Sai probably isn't leading them much. So Nami, I guess, or when Arrow pushes up for poke is when they have to pounce.
You can see the poke is there on the other side for Immortals. Flame trying to join the defensive unit there as a top lane push was started for P1. Pobelter wave clearing as best he can in mid lane. Looks like pings towards that Cloud Drake are next on the menu for P1 here. And Nori just going to make sure this wave moves in. And looks like they'll get this objective for themselves. Dardoch and Olay, though, set up for a potential snipe or even a pick. They do kind of secure some vision around this Drake area.
Yeah, absolutely. With Cody's son is
he's stranded
in the top lane, so it's pretty much only a steal for Immortals. It's no secret that Ash's top lane either is he's clearing a minion wave, so Phoenix1 should just rush this Drake down. Yeah,
able to get it pretty cleanly, and Nori zoning them away. Will tunnel back over the wall for Smite if they even need it. Looks like the rest of the team will take it without his help. Baron buff is about to wear off though, so P1 didn't do too much damage. Actually, is still a little bit behind in gold, but they opened the map back up. They got themselves a second Drake and kind of got themselves to the point where they want to be towards that mid to late game, getting stronger, prepping up for that big 5v5 team fight. Immortals, their game plan doesn't change, but it does get harder to execute as the game gets longer.
It does, and also as the team fights become more unavoidable. Phoenix1 is just going to start brute forcing them around the map right here, and it's too hard to leave yourself exposed in the lane without getting jumped on right now. So Dardoch would have to make some miraculous play happen, but it's just really difficult when he's got to worry about the bubbles and the Cassiopeia ults and the Ash arrow and the Varus ultimates trying to catch him when he goes for a kick backwards.
And we're talking about kind of Flame on the Immortal side. He's still holding a nice lead for himself, but Ryu is really far ahead of Pobelter in this game. 4-0-3 with 3 items and a QSS stun already for the Cassio. Level 16 as well. Ryu is a monster in these fights, and you can see when they are starting, it's usually Ryu that's finishing them.
It really is, and that's one of the things that was favored for Phoenix1 in the draft phase when they picked a mid laner pretty early and were able to ban out essentially Pobelter in the second phase of the draft. So Immortals didn't do Pobelter any favors in the draft. Dardoch also didn't do many favors in the laning phase, so there are other things that lead to this, but it is just the continuation of the trend we saw where Pobelter is getting blasted in a lot of games.
Yep, and look at side lane Ryu still actually applying continual pressure. Pretty effectively 1v2ing Cody-san and Ole, getting the waves pushed in towards this siege. He does have Adrian in the back pocket, so he's got support if he needs it. Anori and Shen also have globals. I mean, we expect some sort of 1-3-1 split push when there's a Shen on the team. Don't usually expect Cassiopeia to be part of the one, but apparently that's what Phoenix1 are doing.
Yeah, that's just how you do it now, if you're Phoenix1, apparently. And it might just be because he's so far ahead of Pobelter. He's like, well, if Flame isn't in this lane, there's no one who can take my Cassiopeia 1v2 even. Sometimes even the second person he'd be able to take. So I can see why he's doing it. Ryu's a guy who did a lot of 1-3-1 split pushing in his time on H2K, so he's experienced in it. But as we've mentioned before, pretty rare you see it on Cassiopeia.
Well, certainly fun to watch, but effective for P1 right now. Bottom lane tier 2, excuse me, is starting to take a pretty significant amount of damage, and P1 know that fair enough in a minute. Turret going not quite down, but the rest of the team's here to join for some poke as Arrow fires the piercing arrow under the turret. This next wave should do it. Zig and Flame doing battle, but Zig is pretty tanky. Flame does have a lot of armor pen, but not sure Zig's going to be able to get out of this one. Taunts himself away. Flame
getting close.
He's got the flash. He's trying to get to the safety of his other turret, but he pulls the sword back through, and that'll be enough for Zig to survive this round.
Yeah, and you can see it's close for Flame. He's 12 CS away from doing the classic Flame Horizon, which is 100 CS up over his lane opponent. But it's one of those times that if you're not actually killing turrets or forcing multiple people to come for you, what is that CS advantage actually meaning? Because if Zig is still a larger impact in team fights, then it would still be advantage P1. So Flame definitely doing work, but how much work is going to be required to win this game, because it has been tilting in the favor of Phoenix1.
And you can see that from the gold graph we just saw there as well. It hasn't been a huge lead from Immortals, up to about 3,500 at the highest point in the game, but even that looked like a snowball could be starting, and then all of a sudden it dips back down, and P1 have neutralized the game again. That's kind of where they wanted to be as far as their mid-game went. They made the correct plays and found some good picks and fights to turn things around on Immortals. Then the Baron buff pretty much stabilized everything, and now it just feels like P1 are in complete control.
Yep, and Baron buff is up again, so it becomes about prepping that. What I like that Immortals has done is they've moved Flame down to the bottom side, and they're just going to try and make it so Zig can't become involved. If Flame stays close and saves his E, Zig would not be able to ult in. And based on how he was nearly able to kill last time, has now completed his Edge of Night and built up with some components of a Hex Drinker. There's a chance he's able to get a little bit more on Zig, but it's still going to be tough.
This is, I think, the other half of that, though, that you were saying before, is at some point, a team fight gets forced upon you as a team, and Baron is an objective that really forces the enemy team to come to you and contest, because if you don't, you're probably just going to lose to the power of the buff anyway. I mean, Flame, he's still getting work done down here in the bottom lane. Zig is struggling to clear these waves out early enough, but P1 know that even if Immortals look to threaten the Baron, they're happy to walk in there, because there's no way Immortals want to fight.
Yeah, they're really not, and maybe they'd want to steal. And here's the thing, as long as Pobelter can keep himself healthy and avoid picks,
ooh, right. And Ori's here as well. Redemption looking to try and finish it up. Adrian! Snipes in for another kill secure.
And that's not what Immortals wanted. Flame was split pushing, but there was no pressure anywhere else on the map. So even though Anori disappeared as a jungle, he's also on Rek'Sai, he's got the global. Immortals in a tough spot.
Ooh, Adrian, that was tried to zone them away. Didn't quite get a hit there on the skill shot, but P1 still forcing some flashes.
Yeah, it's 30 seconds left on Flame, and this is where Phoenix1 is trying to use their Mountain Drake. They have burned the flash on Ole's support, and now they're just trying to fight him. Baron.
Get himself out of the way, and P1 will just run it down mid.
In my opinion, Phoenix1 should either be going straight down mid or straight towards Baron while they have the 4v5. Flame's going to be up in 10 seconds with the opportunity to teleport.
Well, nice. Smart play here from P1. Dardoch still looking for a flank, as Ryu just going to zone them away. Anori will chase them out of the area as Zig also kind of gets them out of the way. Ocean Drake up in 15, so maybe P1 think of fading back for a quick take on that objective, but Flame is back up. Immortals will reset the situation, and with big objectives starting to come back out, Immortals know that they're kind of one pick away from turning this game around.
Yeah, and that's what they hope, because at this point in the game, one pick can't give you enough time to do Baron, which is why I'm surprised Phoenix1 didn't do anything after the pick on the Zig. They're going for more to Cody, though.
Chasing Cody-san. There's the combo with the Shen. And Cody-san just going to have to take the Lantern out to safety. Does do it as Ryu flashes in, takes him out with the ulti as Cody-san will fall. Now Zig still chasing in. A big frontline as Flame does knock one back with a buff, and even he gets caught by the bubble on the other end. A double kill for Ryu, and P1 forced their way through Immortals.
Yeah, and we can see why tanks are so important in team fights like this, where a team just runs through you. There was no one really to stop that from happening as Phoenix1 just chased through and kind of rode the tidal wave into that fight. Yes, Cody was the first target, which is unlucky, but when you think about it from a contextual standpoint, like, who are the tanks that are supposed to be in front of him? They don't have one except for Dardoch, who probably should have been able to kick someone back. Now he's going to try for a steal, but this is a pretty beneficial situation for Phoenix1.
Can certainly see him. Dardoch trying to stay hidden for as long as possible. Zig's going to go find him, though. And Arrow's also ready for a potential snipe tidal wave. A little off there from Adrian.
The thresh steal?
Maybe. Oh, it's the only hope, but Dardoch's actually getting 1v1 by Zig.
Oh.
Takes the lantern out to safety, so it's going to be okay. But P1 get themselves yet another Baron buff.
Yeah, and I almost kind of feel like Dardoch's going to set some kind of record for longest duration of a game where you were 4-0-1. Because he was 4-0-1, I feel like 10 minutes in, and he's exactly the same here. It is just stalled out for Immortals. Watching this, though, Inori had managed to flank around the side. This is how they need to start fights. Rek'Sai comes in with the Shen. Immortals get caught on the other side. And Dardoch just, A, misses his Q and is never able to kick anyone back in this fight. So Flame gets taunted, that's why.
Ooh!
But they pick Ryu off screen.
That's a very big pick for Immortals. P1 now forced back with the Baron buff that they had. Zig with no ulti. P1 missed that massive in the mid game. And now Dardoch looking for another arrow. You cannot get yourself caught. Dardoch going to try and chase it down, but he clutches it over the blue buff. Flamer getting in there, and Pobelta dishing out that damage. Adrian is going to fall. Immortals get themselves a second. Now Inori getting chased down as well as Pobelta slows him down with the Rylai's. Ole lining it up again. Hook is not going to let go. He bent that around the minion, and Zig goes down. Immortals, exactly what they needed.
Someone's going to slow that one down because that hook looked like it was going for a minion, but it found Zig. And this is huge for Immortals as they get the pick onto Ryu and just turn it on. Nothing for the last 20 minutes. Now they might break the inhibitor.
Baron buff looking kind of useless. Chain of Corruption locks down a couple, but they're just going to keep going forward. Inhibitor under siege is going to fall here. Arrow's trying to poke them away, but the mid inhib goes down, and Immortals get themselves straight back into the game the only way they could.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see that pick on a Ryu one more time because that is the trigger. That's the key thing. He has a QSS as well, so how does this happen? Cody arrows, misses, but Pobelta gets him in the gravity field, and then the thresh hook post QSS because he QSS out of the gravity field. So they just basically throw everything at him, enough of it lands, and then they can just continue the chase. Meanwhile, Shen's ult was on cooldown for the most of this, and Dardoch can just brute force his way in with that Guardian Angel. He needs to work on the accuracy a little bit, but Arrow, good juking right there. They catch Inori out. Pobelta comes around the flank, able to finish off Adrian. And it was just a chase from here on out because when they're getting rid of the main damage threat, they can kind of run through the tanks at the end of that fight. But Phoenix1 right back on the
Yeah, Baron buff on enough members still to continue to siege. Now sticking together as 5 with 2 massive side lanes starting to push down as well. Cody's son, he's called off to try and clear them out, but P1 straight towards that top half of the map.
Yeah, and he's actually reached a point where he can put out some substantial teamfight DPS right now. So if he's avoiding the poke from Arrow, who's gone the full lethality build and is much more spell-based, giving Cody's son some actual auto attack time now that he's got that heavy crit build with the Infinity Edge will mean more DPS coming from his side.
Looks like they're doing a pretty nice job so far of clearing out the Baron cannons. And remember, Super Minions will help them in that mid lane, although P1 did manage to push down with the Baron buff they had left and take themselves another turret. Flame busy clearing that up, going to rejoin his team and try and poke them off, but poke is only landing onto the tanks. P1 going to force themselves onto this turret and take it down. 6 turrets to 6 now. P1 still haven't broken that base. Immortals do have a nice little breather in that mid half of the map, but P1 kind of retaliate nicely.
Exactly. They still had the Baron buff on a few people, so they just took that advantage and just pushed it down a lane, making sure that Ryu wasn't way ahead of the team like he was for his only death of the game, and like you say, kind of regain some semblance of control.
The nice thing might be, depending on when Baron buff is coming back up, if that inhibitor's back and ready to go, P1 will feel pretty comfortable trying to contest for it. Otherwise, Immortals kind of have some room to play with, finally, after really wanting to get the split push going, wanting to kind of break them up and pick people off. Flame's going to continue doing his thing in the bottom half of the map, and he has more than Flame Horizon for Zig in this particular game.
And now that he has a little bit of lifesteal as well, it becomes much harder for Zig to fight him off because a lot of times Shen can just kind of whittle you down a little bit between recalls and then make you go back. Now with the lifesteal, Flame will almost always be at full health against Zig. Maybe even threaten the ability to 1v2 a Nori and Zig, which was their main answer to stopping that split push. And it's rare for most people to have 130 CS advantage on their opponent, but that is the reality we're living in this game with Flame. So the split push is actually a real threat now against the Shen.
And Immortals actually take a tier 2 turret out of all this map movement. They've kind of got top lane working in their favor as well. So again, just weaving back and forth through this middle and bottom side of the map, looking for a pick. There's no major buffs to sort of fight for just yet, so P1 know they should likely just play defensively here. But Immortals, it's just going to take one arrow or one hook or one misposition for a member of P1 for Immortals to do exactly what they did only moments ago.
Yeah, and it's interesting from Adrian as well. He had the opportunity to build Mikhails at some point, but it's just that one QSS sitting on Ryu as their answer to Ash Arrows right now. So that leaves the door open for the picks if you're Immortals, unless Phoenix1 is just so confident in their ability to absorb an Ash Arrow with the Tidal Wave and the Redemption and the Locket and the heals from Nami, that they're hoping that it baits the team fight in, because to me it looks like a risky move.
Well, we saw Ryu get caught last time, but it did take quite a few CCs. We'll see. I imagine Adrian's still building towards the item. He's just going to take his time getting there. Ryu is also still very strong, and one of the nice things about Cassiopeia is you get an extra item slot. Pobelta caught out. No, the ulti's not there for Arrow. Good flash from Pobelta to get out from under it. Arrow commits his flash as well.
Necessary flash. It trades the summoner spells and keeps the game in limbo right now, because even though Pobelta has had a rough game, he's sitting at 4 damage items right now and is starting to hit that late game victor point. A Lich Bane or something at the end would really be the cherry on top, because he is heavily outdamaged by Ryu, who's got 5 full damage items on top of his QSS at this point.
Pretty excited for the Mercurial Scimitar. I imagine he'll build it.
Because
why
eventually.
not?
Or just get rid of your QSS, because ultimately, if Adrian just gets a Mikhails, Ryu can build a Luden's Echo or something like a Zhonya's and become much more threatening in fights. So I hope that's what they do.
Well, Arrow still looking for some poke, but Dardoch and his Banshee's Veil can mean Arrow's not having too much of a good time trying to make that happen. In the meantime, Flame, who's also almost full build, just got a BF sword, going to turn into another big ticket item, and Zig, you can see, still forced away. I mean, he's missing a whole full item versus Flame, and maybe in a team fight that won't matter too much, but Zig does want to be a little tankier as Dardoch ward hops his way to safety, throws a Nori a Q just for fun. But Flame continuing his holding pattern in bottom lane. This push will not stop unless P1 bring more people.
Yeah, he's going to be able to just get pot shots in at the turret, so Phoenix1 either needs to force a fight, start the Baron, or send someone over to Flame. The more they just dilly-dally in the mid lane like this, the better it gets for Immortals.
Well, you can see Flame still keeping it up. P1 trying to find a pick on the left side near Baron, but Zig's getting well and truly 1v1 now by Flame. He is not tanky enough for this Jace, and Flame's starting to do big damage.
And that's without a Mountain Drake. That's just Jace at this point in the game. Here comes the Redemption. They're going for the turret rush.
Yeah, Dardoch's in there, but he's actually going to go for it.
Oh, Dardoch, what are you doing?
That's a little too much. I think he's bitten off a little too much there as Nori gets himself played back into the box. They will turn it around as Ole gets himself a kill. Chain of Corruption does hit Dardoch, and they're going to continue to try and fight it out. Ole look for the flash hook, doesn't get it.
The split push is starting to work heavily for Immortals right now. They're kind of pulling this game back, and that turret is a few shots away. Elder Drake up now, Baron up now. There's no Inori for 40 seconds. Can Immortals pull something off here? I like the fact they still have teleport. They're just going to keep the split push going. Never get caught in a full 5v5 fight. If they can keep this up, they got a chance to win.
Well, they're going straight for Baron, but P1 might cut.
Oh, Ryu!
Absolutely massive ulti finds 2 with a stun. Ole getting those Pobelta's trapped in a miasma. Arrow takes him down. There's a double for him, and Ryu just turns it back again.
Massive play by Ryu, completely turning the tides of this game. He beat them to that spot, and Immortals, you could tell, had no idea he was there.
Zig is just trying to fight Flame, but Flame's more interested in the objective. In the meantime, P1 have to rush down the Baron and get back to save their base. Ryu and Arrow, they'll take that down, but now Inori's going to join in onto Flame, and Flame, have you gone too far this time? He's going to try and knock them away. Zig going to miss himself a flash on, but Flame's going to go down here. Just needs a little bit more. QSS is not enough, and Nori takes him down.
Oh boy, and this could actually just move right into an Elder Drake as well because of 3 deaths. So we're going to see them taking that watching this right now.
Surprise!
Alt flash, I believe, into a Varus piercing arrow as well. So no real time to react for them. But I mean, take the slightly safer route around or get a blue trinket in there. They only have one blue trinket. The trinket choices on Immortals are a little bit suspect right here with so many yellow trinkets still this late into the game and not very much sweep or scrying. But this is the power play for Phoenix1. 5v4 for 25 seconds. Baron and Elder.
No!
Immortals can't get caught like that.
Oh no, that's two! Cody Sun forced to burn the flash. Ryu dodges another arrow. Pobelta takes a bit of poke from the Varus. And all of a sudden, things are looking real troublesome.
Yeah, and quite honestly, if you're Immortals, you might just give up this inhibitor, because if you lose a team fight here, the game is over, but it's unlikely they can push. Dardoch goes in.
Big play, finds one, but he doesn't kick Ryu far enough back into the team. That's all his cooldowns burnt now.
He's not one to wait around. He's trying to go for it, but Baron Elder Drake right now for Phoenix1 is so incredibly powerful.
Ryu is getting poked down, but the healing's kind of there for P1. They're going to take this mid inhibitor. They might rejoin Zig in that bottom half, although they've got a big wave top to deal with as well. Looks like they're going to take a more conservative play, not willing to force themselves straight down the middle of the map and look to end the game then. Things are going to stay in balance for a little while longer, but P1, we talked about that team fight being good when we looked at Champ Select. Now at this point, they're so powerful.
And they still have a minute and a half at least on both of these buffs, so the timer is tricky. Like that's why Dardoch wanted to go and fight, because he's thinking ahead in this game, and he's thinking if we go down 2 inhibitors, we're not going to be able to split push anymore. So they want to be able to fight here, but they quite honestly can't unless they get in a ridiculously good pick.
Here looks like a good position for P1. Dardoch again finds Ryu! Look for the pick, but the Seraphs is there. Flame dives in on the backline to try and go for it, but P1 just too strong. The front line holds, and P1 break another inhib.
And that is exactly what Phoenix1 did, and they nearly get the ridiculously good pick. But the Ash Arrow isn't able to combo with what Dardoch was trying to set up. He's full build on Lee Sin, not getting any stronger. And now they're full-time base defenders because those 2 inhibitors aren't coming back anytime soon.
Yep, Super Minion's going to do battle in the bottom lane. Don't forget P1 managed that push with Supers pushing down the lane. So you can see just how strong they are as Ryu, well and truly done with his item build, pops himself over and looking to try and get a pick, or maybe just a blue buff this time around.
I wanted to get rid of that scimitar, but that's not what's going to happen right here. So, watching this fight, Dardoch kicks Ryu, and Ash Arrow goes whoop right through everybody. Ryu pops his shields, able to withstand that, and then when you have the 3 Elemental Drakes and the Baron, you're just going to power through in these team fights. Interesting that I do want to point out is the Zeke's Harbinger onto Adrian. Arrow has a critless build right now, but with the Harbinger, it's allowing him to access that multiplier, which he's completely foregone with his build. So a lot of times in the current AD carry meta where most builds have 70% crit, the Zeke's Harbinger you don't see. But when you actually are just adding crit instead of going over 100%, it can be much more effective.
It's also explained why Ryu's held onto his scimitar, because he still needs that effect with no Mikhails just yet. For Adrian, we'll have a slot for it. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what that Forbidden Idol's turning into. And Zig and Flame continue their saga. Flame's like, yep, still stronger than you. Zig's like, I know.
Yeah, Flame built an Infinity Edge, so he's really trying to hard carry this one. Just that little 1 crit item usually needs to be comboed with another crit item, so maybe he'll get rid of his Edge or Knight or something for more crit later, but we'll see right now. He's just trying to maximize his damage as much as possible while shoving out the Super Minion wave, but they need him for base defense right now.
Yeah, you can see P1 pushing in. Buffs have dropped off, so Siege is going to be a little harder, but all they really have to do is wait. Zeke's got TP and Ultimate ready to join the team at a moment's notice. Ryu slithers away from that Q from Dardoch. Probably a smart move, given how trigger happy he's been. And in Immortals, they've got the items. Pobelta actually just finishes his Lich Bane, so they really, again, just need 1 pick to maybe turn the game around. But P1, not a team that's looking to slip up this late into the game.
Exactly, and it is becoming a little bit less and less about the items as more people hit totally maxed. And even though we've complimented the tank line of Phoenix1 so much, when you're getting a couple of 6-item marksman types as well as a 6-item Victor, the tank line actually doesn't scale as much with defense as you can scale with offense this late into the game. So it does start swinging back a little bit with Immortals, as long as they don't get picked off by the monster that is Ryu's Cassiopeia.
P1 just have to play a little more carefully. Can't just run all the way through the enemy team.
Right. They have to be a little measured in their responses. They have to get either that awesome level of Ryu Cassiopeia ultimate, or Arrow's got to land some type of CC, because these fights are getting more and more explosive as the game gets later.
Map's getting real small, looking for Immortals as well. That inhibitor's about to be back in, so P1 is happy to sit here and try and force a fight. Flame again, backing onto Inori. You can see what you were talking about. The tank line is getting shredded by the big damage of the carries.
And he's, unless he sold his Tiamat, as tanky as he can get. So here we go.
Dardoch. Caught between a lot of people.
Flame.
Inori gets a knock up on the Flame. There's a tidal wave in to follow, but Inori goes down. GA pop, Chain of Corruption though. Blocks down a couple on the other end. Zig still taking damage as Inori has to get himself out. Pobelta doesn't quite have enough, but Rio looks for the play. Ole flashes out of it though.
Really aggressive fight right there, and we said the fights are getting more explosive. We lied, no one died. Clearly, they're just very tense in these moments, and if any of those CCs would have landed more substantially, it could have even ended the game with where Phoenix1 had for the location of that fight.
Instead, Immortals will go back to clearing out these waves. These inhibitors are respawning soon, so Super Minions will stop their assault in just a moment. But again, Elder Dragon a little further away, but Baron is the big objective now, 40 seconds away. P1 might not need it to win the game, but if they can force Immortals to come there and force that big team fight, that's even better news, because they're going to win.
Yeah. The nice thing for Immortals, though, is that their inhibitors respawning is going to mostly sync with the respawn of Baron, so they might actually have a realistic chance of either defending this or setting up an actual split push threat from Flame down to that side lane now that he's completely maxed on items. And I mean, we were talking before this, even though Phoenix1 has looked so much better in the first 2 weeks than Immortals, it's still so early, and it is just one match that separates these guys in the standings. So first game of the best of 2 series looks super competitive.
Yeah, almost 50 minutes into this one. I mean, given how the mid-game looks for P1, you could be excused for thinking the game was maybe 10 minutes more. I mean, Immortals also looked like the game was going to end quickly after Dardoch, who's still deathless in the game, was off to a rollicking good start. But as a result, it's actually been a very tight one. Immortals know that a misstep's going to cost them. P1 know their tanks just feeling a little squishier than they were about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, and because of the Cassiopeia being so strong right now, it almost feels like Immortals doesn't want to even have Flame, not with the team right away, just with how quickly Phoenix1 has initiated on them in the past. The initiation from Phoenix1 is a little less right now because there's no flash on Inori, and that's been their primary way of initiating.
Oh,
but they're tuning the Baron.
He got caught, the gravity field's there as well. He's going to flash himself out to safety. The TPs are coming in. There's Flame actually looking for the flank.
He wants to stop the Baron.
Dardoch looking to go in, trying to steal it. No, doesn't get it. Baron goes to P1. Now Dardoch is going to fall down. GA's going to pop, so Dardoch lives for a little while longer, but Flame's going to try and get in there. Pobelta with a big ult, he might turn around, but Ryu shuts one down, and he's still cutting back into the Baron pit. Immortals have to be careful. Flame flashes out of the way as Zig gets hooked again by Ole. Baron, Phoenix1, and only one casualty apiece.
And no one wants to get too close to Ryu because they're worried he's going to blow him up, and that was huge. I saw that Baron at 11 health pace per time. That was as close as we've seen to a steal when that Shock Blast came in, and the Nori might have smote a little early, but now they have the Baron. It is a 4v4 support trade for a jungler. The fight continues.
Ooh, Arrow, nice edge of night. Gets poked by Flame, that's not as nice. Ole managing to take that off so the damage can come in. Immortals, I think, want to hold here if they can. Arrow lands in onto Zig. Hook again from Ole, comboed in, but Ryu chucked out by Pobelta. Hit goes down, but Pobelta looks to make the play. Takes down Ryu, and Immortals gonna turn it all around again.
2 cycles of Q auto attack by an endgame victor eliminates Ryu, and now Immortals trying to go onto the offensive. This is tense.
Arrow playing with fire though, got chunked out by Flame Shock Blast and managed to kite just far enough away to not get picked off here. Immortals gonna have Ryu dead for 50 seconds.
Yeah, that's huge because he is the one really keeping Immortals at bay right here. Arrow's the full poke build, so if he's not landing those piercing arrows, there's not much keeping Immortals from trying to fly into them with all their damage. Note Inori is actually behind Immortals right now, though, so he's trying to think up something, but it's tough to go in without Ryu.
Yeah, they really need the big damage dealer. Pobelta.
That's the poke, though.
Yeah, it's part of the reason the build
keeps good.
And Pobelta's like, yep, not taking any of that. Going to delay the push here from Immortals. In fact, they're going to back off, reset the map, and we might actually have a second Elder Dragon be the deciding factor in the game. It's up in less than a minute.
Yeah, this one is going the distance because even based on the way the last Elder Drake happened, you're not sure if the second one's going to end the game, especially if Immortals was able to secure it with some split push threat, but Ole is in a bad spot.
Looks to be caught here. Courage of the closest.
How did that happen?
He's baiting them away, but he wanted to ward, I guess, and now he's going to pay for it. No, not yet. Fox is going to save him for a little while longer, and that flay does disengage, but he had to burn almost everything to get away there.
But because of the lack of extra vision by Phoenix1, they actually decide to not chase the kill through. He was dead if they continued to chase, but it hurts to be down the Thresh Flash and Ultimate, and he should not have been there in the first place, but he did salvage it. Now he's got a GA for this Elder Drake fight in 15 seconds if he can make it in time.
We're officially at the longest game of this season.
Let's go.
P1 looking to set up for this next Elder Dragon. 5 seconds left, everything looking prepped.
Mikhail's has been completed by Adrian, so watch out for that in this fight. The Ash Arrow won't have as big of an impact. Not that it has had a huge impact in these fights. Here they go.
Well, starting a Dragon, RP1. Immortals, though, have plenty of poke to use with the Jace, so it's going to be a little tricky. And Nori also looking for a flank. Tunnels back in over.
They're actually running up mid with this one. I don't know about this, because it's a 3 elemental Drake. They could just chase from the back, but they're choosing to recall, so it is going to be an inhibitor, and maybe not even a fight.
Yeah, and Nori actually trying to cut some people off. Arrow lands, hits Zig! Tidal Wave going to disengage, but Zig might get blown up here despite attacking this Ryu again with a big play. Deletes Cody's son. Flame goes down as well. This Cassio, just too good. Arrow going to keep poking them down. Ryu looking to take yet another life. Ole caught. That's the flash he lost earlier. Woo. His GA is going to go down, and P1, 2 kills already, looking to make it 3 as Ole falls as well. He's going to shield himself up, but Arrow now unstoppable, and P1 going to try and close it out.
Yeah, some really bold shot calling there by Immortals backfires in a big way as they give up the Elder Drake just to clear an inhibitor, and then try and catch Phoenix1 in between recalls from the base and running up from the Elder Drake, but they get their initiation onto a tank and just get steamrolled in the eventual team fight. 30 seconds still left on these team fights. I don't see why they don't just walk up mid and try and end this one.
Gonna have to wait for the minions by the looks of things. The Immortals are here to defend somewhat. Pobelta gonna get as much wave clear done as he can. Bottom inhibitor falls down, and here's the assault from P1. Tidal Wave doesn't quite clip Pobelta, but P1 are gonna push it in. Can they save it? As Nori locked him down. Ryu again combos one in. Dada gets out from under another Cassio ultimate, but that's gonna be it. Torrents will fall down, and Phoenix1 win the longest game of 2017 spring.
104,000 gold by the end of it. Nori is wondering how that one nearly got away from him, but in the end, they are victorious, and they're 1 game away from closing the series.
And the nice thing there is we expected this week to, kind of see teams had time to develop, had time to practice and build some synergy. Everyone's going to have issues at the start of the season, or almost everyone, Cloud9 excluded, I suppose, given their recent performance. And like you said, that was the longest game we've had, looking very competitive despite maybe the early impressions from the first 2 weeks. And this is going to be one hell of a series if the games continue like that, because teams are powering up and you can see it.
Exactly. Dardoch did look a little bit like his old self at the very start of that game. Beautiful beginning to the game. But then there was that 30-minute period where Immortals just was unable to execute any plays. And this game, in a sense, had a little bit of everything. So definitely super entertaining. It hurts to lose that one. Based on the looks of Phoenix1, it hurt to win that one as well, because they thought they should have closed out more succinctly, which they did make some mistakes down the stretch, but ultimately still the win.
Yeah, you can see the game plan with the Flame. It was there. Immortals kind of found their window to get in, but well handled, I will say, by P1, because it's not easy when your top lane's down 150 CS.
Exactly. They first picked the Jace, very obviously wanted to go for that strategy, and it didn't look like it was going to work for a while. Then it looked like it was going to work, but in the end, they got caught in too many team fights.
Well, full of drama and a whole lot of fun, but for a closer look at that game, we are going to send it back to the analysts.